Hello, thanks for joining us. This is the news on NTA International. We are live streaming on Vision TV 24/7 and on other social media platforms. My name is Charles Alpha and the sign language interpreter is Courage Ogerahi. First headlines. President Bola Tinubu directs new board of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to prioritize welfare of the Niger Delta people in Nigeria. Nigerian Armed Forces introduce compulsory drug tests during screening and intake. And Kenya and European Union signed trade agreements to increase flow of goods from the two countries. President Bola Tinubu has directed the new board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to prioritize the welfare of the Niger Delta people and Nigerians at large, even as they target profitability, high production level and good governance in the energy sector. The president gave the directive as he inaugurated the NNPCL board at the State House.
We need to show that we are committed to the welfare of our country. The cost of production is not acceptable to me. We have to look at that carefully. We have to mitigate all challenges and put incentive there to produce more gas. You better look critically at the PIA. What are the pitfalls in the PIA? The members of cabinet and your good self should sit as a team and look at what can we do differently? There's so many ways to skin a cat. What can we do differently to bring up profitability, production, high level, and good governance, which is the key performer indicator? It is all in your hands. I will work with you in every way possible. But there could be sudden dissolution of the board too if no performance indicator is exceptional.
From January to November, I think we have contributed about 4.5 trillion to FAC. We will do more. The incidences of stealing, pipeline vandalization, we know with your support, it will be a thing of the past. We can then be boasting of being able to produce 2 million barrels per day and above.
The United Nations is observing today as International Migrants Day with a premium to reflection and on celebrates the contributions of millions of migrants worldwide. On this occasion, the International Organization on Migrants says people on the move are powerful drivers for developments in both their origin and destination countries as workers, students, entrepreneurs, family members, artists, and much more. It is of the view that migrants often maintain strong connections to their home countries while embracing their new communities where they bring wealth of knowledge, experience, and skills. On this International Migrants Day, IOM aims to position migration as one of the solutions to the global challenges such as adapting to the impacts of climate change or providing better economic opportunities for communities. And now Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has swept to a third 6-year term as Egypt's president, winning 89.6% of the total votes cast in the country's presidential election. The National Election Authority announced on Monday that the election took place as Egypt struggles with a slow-burning economic crisis and tries to manage the risk of spillover from the war in Gaza, which borders Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. Voting in Egypt was held over 3 days on December 10 to 12, with the state and tightly controlled domestic media pushing hard to boost turnout, which the election authority said had reached 66.8%, above the 41% recorded at the last presidential election in 2018. The election featured 3 other candidates, none of them high profile. The most prominent potential challenger halted his run in October, saying officials and thugs had targeted his supporters. Accusations dismissed by the National Election Authority. And in Iraq, Iraqis have headed to the polls to elect provincial councils for the first time in 10 years, with thousands vying for seats in the powerful assemblies. Ballots are being cast in 15 of Iraq's 18 provinces this Monday. A report says the elections are a prelude to a parliamentary vote in 2025, which will test the strength of pro-Iran groups that have been raising their profile in recent years. In all, 285 candidates will be elected to the councils, whose duties include appointing regional governors and allocating health, transport, and education budgets. Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdistan region, which includes 3 provinces, will decide their provincial councils next year. And in Kenya and the European Union have signed a long-negotiated trade agreement to increase the flow of goods between the 2 markets as Brussels pursues stronger economic ties with Africa. Francis Udoyo reports that the economic partnership agreement will give Kenya duty-free and quota-free access to the EU, its biggest export market, while European goods will receive progressive tariff reduction.
The agreement is the first broad trade deal between the EU and an African nation since 2016 and follows a spending spree by China on lavish infrastructure projects across the continent. President William Ruto, at a ceremony attended by European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen in Kenya's capital Nairobi, said, "The meeting represents a moment of monumental promise. It is also the beginning of a historic partnership for historic transformation of Kenya. The core of this agreement is to put real money into the pockets of ordinary people," said Ruto. For EU Chief von der Leyen, the partnership was a win-win situation on both sides and called on other East African nations to join the pact, which came after years of negotiations that concluded in June. The European Union says that the deal was the most ambitious economic partnership it had with a developing country. The EU has taken steps to counter China's Belt and Road program, announcing in February it will increase investment in Kenya by hundreds of millions of dollars through its own Global Gateway initiative. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
And Francis Udojo also reports that a Ugandan constitutional court has begun hearing the first challenge to a draconian anti-gay law, which triggered criticism from the United Nations and led to U.S. visa restrictions on government officials.
The East African nation adopted one of the world's harshest laws against homosexuality in May, prompting an uproar by rights advocates and Western powers, with U.S. President Joe Biden threatening to cut aid and investment to Kampala as President Yoweri Museveni's government has struck a defiant tone, with officials accusing the West of trying to pressure Africa into accepting homosexuality. "We agreed to proceed with written submissions as opposed to oral submissions," Nicholas Opio, the lawyer representing the petitioners told the court in Kampala on Monday. The petitioners calling for the law to be overturned include several human rights activists, 2 law professors from Makerere University in Kampala, and 2 legislators from Museveni's National Resistance Movement Party. No date has been set for the ruling. Washington this month imposed visa bans on unnamed officials deemed responsible for undermining the democratic process in Uganda and abusing human rights, including those of the LGBTQ community. The United States has also announced plans to remove the country from the African Growth and Opportunity Act Trade Pact from January 2024. The US, the European Union, and the UN chief Antonio Guterres have slammed the legislation, warning that foreign aid and investment for Uganda could be jeopardized unless the law is repealed. But the law enjoys broad support in the conservative country, where lawmakers have defended the measures as a necessary bulwark against Western immorality. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
Now, still staying with Francis Udojo, he reports that Belgium has launched one of the biggest drug trafficking trials in its history, with more than 120 defendants in the dock, thanks in large parts of investigators cracking encrypted messaging apps. Suspects from Belgium, Albania, Colombia, and North Africa. He also reports that are accused of involvement in a vast criminal operations face justice at hearing in a high-security courtroom in the former headquarters of military alliance NATO in Brussels.
Your Honor, I played. I lost. 50-year-old Edin Munoz Guerrero told the presiding judge as he takes responsibility for what he has done by confirming all statements he made to the police as the ringleader of the group he led. Munoz Guerrero, who despite his Spanish name is an Albanian, was one of the first defendants the trial and admitted, in particular, creating hidden components for cocaine in the luxury cars driven by gang couriers to Germany, Italy, and Sweden. The alleged multinational drug smuggling enterprise, active from 2017 to late 2022, involved numerous criminal gangs and was dismantled following raids by police in Belgium, Germany, and Italy. Prosecutors say that cocaine and cannabis were transported in containers from South Africa and Morocco and smuggled through ports in Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, and France before being sold across Europe, and that the gangs use encrypted message apps. By breaking into the apps, police say they were able to peer into the unguarded planning and operation of drug smuggling operations. Belgian Justice Minister Paul van Tichelt said 1,000 criminal convictions have already been secured in cases resulting from evidence from the encrypted apps. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
For Africa to reach the targets set in the Sustainable Development Goals, achieve inclusive economic transformation and build resilience against economic shocks, there must be a deliberate action towards leveraging the continent's natural endowments. This was the position of economic experts at the launch of the 2023 Economic Report on Africa and 2023 Africa Sustainable Development Reports at the United Nations House in Abuja. Chukunonso Mwabweze has details of that report.
The aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, as well as challenges of climate change, are no doubt of huge impact on the economies of African countries. This launch, however, of the 2023 Economic Report on Africa, as well as the Africa Sustainable Development Report by the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, focuses on building the continent's resilience to global economic shocks, as well as accelerating the recovery from COVID-19 and the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and African Union Agenda 2063 at all levels.
Provide figures tell us that Africa's economic growth rate declined to minus 1.8%. This is the way we looked at how COVID-19 impacted African economies.
I believe that the report will serve to tool us all further to prepare for economic shocks and untether us further from the volatilities of being commodity-based economies, even as we continue to diversify our economy away from primary product focus to achieve more resilience.
Given the external nature and depth of this poly crisis, growth and fiscal space in many African countries remains constrained. Combined with an overstretched resource envelope to mitigate COVID-19, low productivity in agriculture, persistent trade barriers in the region, financing for recovery has become increasingly difficult.
Improving risk management and building resilient strategies, development planning and good governance, structural transformation through smart industrial policies, enhancing global cooperation as well as maximizing advantages of regional initiatives such as the African Continental Free Trade Area to reduce Africa's exposure to external shocks are some of the recommendations of the reports. NTA News.
You're still watching the news on NTA International. We will take a quick break now. Please stay with us for more reports. Stay with us. President Bola Tinubu says his administration will always uphold media freedom and respect opinion, whether they are adversarial or complementary to his government. The president made the pledge in Abuja during a meeting with members of the Newspaper Proprietors Association of Nigeria, and President Tinubu assured NPAN members that he would carefully consider their request for a review of policies affecting the paper industry, acknowledging concerns about existing regulations hindering local access to newsprint. Speaking on the challenges faced by travelers during the festive season, the president said the federal government is taking measures to alleviate the high costs of transportation by granting waivers to operators in the air, road, and rail transportation systems. He also said steps are being taken to reduce the price of liquefied petroleum gas. In his remarks, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, reiterated the federal government's commitment to fostering a vibrant and responsible media landscape in the country. Kabiru Yusuf, NPAN President and Chairman of Media Trusts, while congratulating President Tinubu on his election victory and Supreme Court affirmation, raised pressing concerns facing the newspaper industry. Now, the Nigerian Armed Forces have introduced compulsory drug test during military screening and intake. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, who announced this while on a walking visit to the office of the Chairman, National Drugs Enforcement Agency, Mohammed Buba Marwa, states that the military will fully support the renewed war against illicit drugs and commended NTAi for the success recorded under the leadership of Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa.
We will not shield anybody. We have made a number of arrests while in the northeast. Our checkpoints and all of, we pick them up and we prosecute them. We kept standing court martials. Anybody that is found guilty must pay for it. And we try to do rehabilitation. Part of our recruitment process and courses, you must take drug tests. Because we want to ensure that whoever we have in the armed forces is doing the right thing, is in the right frame of mind.
NTAi in the last 3 years convicted more than 6,000 criminals, seized more than 20,000 tons of illicit drugs, and promised to expand its drugs demand reduction program.
It is for this reason that NTAi have been very ferocious and aggressive in denying these criminals access and availability of illicit substances. NTAi were ever ready to continue our collaboration, if not intensify it, towards drug demand reduction in the barracks.
The commended the military for the support to the agency's deep raid operations of forests across the country. And still on reading the Society of Illicit Drugs, the Director General National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, says the agency was able to destroy about 16 billion naira, 135 a truckload of fake, counterfeit and spurious sized products and damaged expired products willingly submitted by stakeholders to the agency. She made this known during an engagement with journalists in Abuja, and Haman Jabani was part of that.
Efforts to strengthen the regulatory and operational efficiency of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, the agency deployed some directors and other officers, embarked on staff training in all regulatory activities and zonal sensitization campaign. In collaboration with the health journalists, the agency secured approval of vaccines like the R21 malaria vaccine, inaugurated the new Ogun State Office and AMCO Export Office, and put in place processes that will result in lifting of ban on export of some good items such as beans. The agency intercepted counterfeiters involved in the production of variety of beverages including wines, soft drinks and consumables in Izeku Market, Cemetery Market, Aba, Abia State. The street value of the counterfeited and destroyed fake products is estimated at over 750 million naira. The NAFDAC boss said 10 people were arrested and will be charged to court after thorough investigation.
In line with our mandate to rid the country of fake and substandard products, we shall be on the trail of these evil counterfeiters and bring them to book. The public is enjoined to report any suspicious activity of illegal producers of adulterated products.
While urging Nigerians to remain vigilant, the agency is also taxing consumers to always scrutinize branded drinks to distinguish them from counterfeits before consuming them, adding that NAFDAC will continue to ensure that the level of counterfeit products nationwide is brought to the barest minimum so that Nigerians can continue to consume only healthy and safe products. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
The High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has issued an order attaching the accounts of the Oyo State government in 10 banks in the country. The presiding judge, Justice Ebong, gave the order in a ruling on Ganiche proceeding initiated by the former local government chairman in Oyo State, who was sacked on May 29, 2019 at the instance of the Governor Sheikh Makinde. The order is pursuant to the implementation of the verdict of the Supreme Court in 2021, where the Oyo State government is a judgment debtor of over 4 billion naira in favor of sacked council chairman. In the verdict, the Apex Court condemned the decision of Governor Makinde for unlawfully sacking the elected council chairman before the end of their tenure. The federal, with the digital age enabling better connectivity with audience, it's vital the broadcasting industry leverage advanced technology to create contents that resonate with every segment of the society to remain relevant. Director General, Nigerian Television Authority, Saliu Abdulhamid Dambos, made this demand while seeking collaboration of the National Broadcasting Commission. Joseph Watson reports.
Two major pillars of the broadcasting landscape meet with a mind to shape the nation's narrative by utilizing the digital space. Creative storytelling, fresh ideas, and artistic expression on enhancing Nigeria's diversity to the Director General Nigerian Television Authority, Salihu Abdulhamid Dembos, can give audience a sense of belonging and appreciation of what they have in stock as a country.
Nigeria is a tapestry of culture, languages, and perspectives. As broadcasters, we have the responsibility to reflect this rich diversity in our programming. By doing so, we not only celebrate our cultural heritage, but also create content that resonates with every segment of our society.
The digital age has multiple advantages, but also excesses that can send many astray. Director General National Broadcasting Commission, Charles Ibuebu, believes NTA can help the Commission by modeling Nigerians and media houses with its professionalism.
So even for us as the NBC, we've had to do a rethink on what kind of regulations we would have in place, how we would be able to manage the excesses of the media age. So it is a big responsibility, and I believe you are up to that responsibility.
The new age is critical, with technology, creativity and inclusivity holding the key to success in broadcasting. And these two major gatekeepers are ready to serve as a guide. In Abuja, Joseph Utsen, NTA News.
And with that report, we come to the end of the news. Many thanks for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha. My sign language interpreter has been Courage Ogirahi. Compliments of the season.